Hello everyone, it's Kiara today with Home Slice Adulting, and today's video is going to be a review of Love and Hip Hop Season 3 Episode 10, which aired on Monday, which technically was yesterday, but I realized that my last review was pretty long, so I'm going to try to keep it as succinct as possible. So let's get started with the boring stuff. Nicki apologizes to both Rosa and Safari, and the only thing that I wasn't really clear about was whether or not she made her intentions clear to Rosa, because you know she gave her roses and she apologized, but she didn't really make it clear if they were going to just continue as friends or if they were going to try to be romantic again. But when she spoke to Safari, she made it clear to Safari that me and Rosa are friends and nothing more. So hopefully Nicki doesn't go back to her slimeball ways. And I didn't like how Nicki was dismissive about the incident with her bringing the girl from Miami, or with the incident with Rosa. She was like, I don't want to talk about that. Or when it came to the Miami thing, she was like, you know, I wasn't there, so I don't even know if I believed it in the first place, which is BS, because why would you bring the girl if you didn't, you know, at least believe a little bit of it was true? But whatever, she just didn't want to think about all the bad stuff that she's done. She just wanted to move forward. And so I like how Safari, you know, tried to make things clear with his intentions about wanting to get married and have kids and get a small dog named Bodman. So that's what I liked about Safari, that he, you know, was in no uncertain terms. He knew what he wanted. We'll talk about Ray J and Princess and all of their dealings. And the first time we see them this episode, they are you know, with the wedding planner, discussing things for the wedding. And it's so weird the type of hold and influence that Miss Sonia has on Ray J. And I understand that in addition to them being mother and son, they're also business partners, so they're always interacting and that type of thing. But I don't know, the Ray J didn't seem to really have a problem with anything until his mom showed up, and that would be an issue for me. And after his mom mixed it up and was like, King Leonardo, who? There's no, as far as I know, there's no King Leonardo or Leonardo, if that's what she meant. But anyways, after she made that mistake and was like, oh, I don't like this because it's not for this time or whatever, and Ray J went all off on some type of tangent about a modern day coming to America, and I want platinum silverware, platinum chairs, and all this stuff. And the wedding planner was frustrated, and Princess was frustrated, and he was like, I want black tie, but whatever Princess wants. And the issue is that one, this is what Ray J looks like at 5,000% involved, and two, I can understand Princess's frustration, because when you are working with your significant other on something, a lot of times one person tends to be more dedicated than the other. When the second person comes on board, your spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend, whoever it is, when they come on board and they try to make changes, it's very hard for the person who's been there the whole time to take. And so the next time we see Ray J, is he's with his mom, Miss Sonia, at a Brazilian restaurant, and Brazilian restaurants are amazing. They have awesome meat, and the men, you know, bring the meat on skewers and they cut it off for you, and usually the sides are at a buffet for like the vegetables and salads and that type of thing. If you've never been to one, you need to go because it's amazing. And anyways, she's trying to talk to Ray J about the seriousness of marriage, and you know, a few days or a few weeks, I don't know how soon the wedding is at this point, you know, in the show, but the seriousness of marriage talk is too late. it's almost too late. And you know, Miss Sonia, I I understand marriage is 100% a serious thing, and being married for 41 years is an accomplishment. But for any of us who watched their show, like the Brandi and Ray J and their family show, I don't know what it was called, but we all know that Miss Sonia was the difficult one in the marriage. I mean, we don't know what happened, you know, in their marriage in detail, but you know, she was the difficult one as far as I could see. So I imagine marriage is pretty hard. But the part where she kind of almost started breaking down and crying told me that you know, Sonia's concerns are 50-50. Sonia was saying, you know, it's not about whatever, it's about me giving you life and then somebody coming into your life and altering it. But that's the point of marriage, right? You leave your mother and father and you cleave to your husband or wife. And the issue seems like Sonia doesn't want to let go. So in addition to her not really feeling you know, Princess and Ray J's relationship because it's been a lot of BS, she doesn't want to let her son go. So I think it's 50-50 with those, you know, types of feelings and whatnot. And so Sonia was like already very negative, and even though the things that she was saying were true, she really like didn't have any faith in the marriage, and she was very skeptical of Princess, and she was talking as if the marriage wasn't gonna last anyway. Like you know, there's women out here, they're conniving and they have they get married and then they have babies and they're like, oh, he needs to take care of me and my babies. And it's like, yeah, as a husband and a father, you got to take care of your wife and your children. But you know, later on in that conversation, come to find out she's talking as if they're divorced already. So in this scenario that she's, you know, talking about, they're already divorced, and and Ray J is shelling out alimony and child support. So yeah, she don't have no faith in the relationship, and it's really disheartening, and I'm, you know, happy to know, or surprised to know, that they actually got married. So they made it. But when Princess shows up, Miss Sonia's all fake, and she's like, hey, Princess. And I was like, that's so fake. The way she said it, it was obvious. And I thought it was interesting how Princess got very upset, and she was like, it's like very rude for her to say she doesn't like me to my face. And while, you know, Miss Sonia didn't say it in so many words, I guess that's what, you know, Princess gathered from it, which is, I guess, okay. I just don't I guess that's what she deduced from the conversation. And Princess was right in saying that Miss Sonia's doubts, because of Miss Sonia's influence on Ray J, could definitely affect Ray J's thoughts on them getting married. In the next scene, there's some regular chick pretending to be a video vixen in Ray J's music video, and we ain't heard no music or no good music from Ray J since One Wish. I didn't like One Wish. I hated that song, but he hasn't had like a big song since then, and music you know, may not be what he needs to look into, but whatever. If he puts out another hit, then I'll just be wrong. But I thought it was interesting how when Princess was like, neither one of you are ready and I need to talk to you, and Ray J said, you know, give me 10 minutes, and he was like, you know what, give me 20. And I was like, you know, that's a vast improvement from when she popped up on him at the Scooty bike photo shoot, and he was like, you know what, take 5. And then he was like, no, you know what, take 4. So now he's giving more time to Princess instead of less time, which is good. But that didn't last long, because Princess is just very easily stressed. And you know, there's women out here who have jobs and kids and husband and laundry and dishes and cooking, and they, you know, get through their lives okay. But Princess has one job to do, and she's already stressed out. And I mean, you know, add on top of that the stress of not getting along with her mother-in-law, or realizing, finally hearing for herself that her mother-in-law doesn't like her, and it just stresses her all the way out. And Princess doesn't understand that by lashing out at Ray J, she's playing into what Sonia has already said about her, and it's making Ray J doubt their relationship. So and Ray J is so silly, and he's like, you know, I haven't had cold feet, and which is good to know because he really hadn't had any doubts, but he was like, now I got cold toes, and you know, it'll automatically go to your feet. And I was like, this man is crazy. But yeah, Princess doesn't realize that she's playing into the fears that Sonia has implanted into Ray J's mind. But anyways, the last time that we see Ray J and Princess says that Ray J didn't come home, and she came to check on him, and she didn't really want to hug or kiss him, and she's trying to figure out what's going on, and they're both being passive aggressive and childish. And I'm like, these are just two kids in love, and they don't really know what to do. So I think in this situation, both Ray J and Princess are wrong. All right, I guess next we'll talk about Max, Brandi, Ray J, and Princess at the studio. They're all at the studio together, and Max is doing some Romeo Must Die song, and I actually sounded kind of good, but you know, it sounded similar to some of the things that are on the radio now, but I didn't know he rapped, so whatever, he's talented, go ahead. So Jason Lee shows up with the tape, and Ray J immediately wasn't with it. And like, there's a bunch of reasons why, and he's like, you know, Monique's mom plays tennis with Brandi, and Brandi, his sister, and he's like, he might have not been, you know, interested because he's already seen Monique naked, and I guess he's just drawing on his own experience with sex tapes. And I'm like, whatever. I mean, your sex tape launched a whole family's career, really, the whole Kardashian, so whatever. I don't really take Ray J's disdain with a grain of salt or anything, and I think they really dug a hole for themselves by putting this part on tape, because this is evidence that you know, Jason Lee brought the tape to them and that they viewed a part of it. So if Monique wants to sue, this is pretty damning evidence. But I didn't understand why Max was all, you know, Fizz is my boy and I'm gonna tell him. And Max initially was with it. And then later on we found out that he grew a conscience because his mama taught him right, and he realized that this was not something that he wanted to have done to him, so now he and Brandi weren't going to go through with it, but that he wanted to make Fizz aware that there was a sex tape. The next time we see Max, he goes and talks to Fizz because they're at some type of event that Brandi was throwing for MS, which is what her sister has, a disease that her sister has. And so he takes him outside, and he was like, you know, Monique's, they went to some listening party for Monique, and Monique got up on stage and started talking about Brandi's court case and saying that she lied on her plea and talking about my son. And I was like, he wasn't there. So he definitely didn't see what we saw. But I don't remember her saying anything about Brandi lying on her plea. And I also didn't see her saying anything about their son at the party, at the listening party. Monique definitely did, like I said, Monique definitely did call their baby ugly, which was cut out of the show. But she definitely did say that. So eventually, or previously, she did talk about their son, but not at the listening party. And so I thought it was interesting the way that Max was talking about Fizz's son. And he was like, you know, I'm cool with your son, and I don't want him to be like, that nigga is the nigga that sold my mama out or whatever. And I was like, who talks about a little kid like that? That was funny to me. We'll skip real quick to Pam, A1, and the Lyricas. And so I want to know if Pam really gardens, or if that was just one of those things that you know, you keep busy doing. And why did Pam let that man hook up the car? She saw him towing the car, and she just went to the backyard or wherever A1 and Safari were, and she was like, they towing your car. Now, I would have expected Mama Pam to turn up and be like, oh, you can't take my son's car. And then A1 and Safari come out, and you know, because they hear the noise, and that would make more sense to me. But for her to be so calm and be like, they're towing your car, didn't seem right. It just seemed weird. But anyways, I think it's weird that the car was in Lyrica's name and that Big Lyrica was okay with them having a car in her name. And it just goes to show that relationships with mother-in-laws and stuff can sour. So what I see like a lot of times happening is that when people are girlfriend and boyfriend, the in-laws get along just fine. But as soon as they start getting serious and get engaged, and you know, getting closer to being married, people show their true colors. I mean, it's easy to be agreeable when you feel like this relationship is not going to last or they're not serious. And then when it gets time for them to actually get serious, then the tensions heat up because you realize, oh, my son or daughter's spouses, parents are people that I'm going to have to deal with for, you know, the rest of my life. They're going to be grandparents to my grandchildren as well. And, you know, they're going to have children together. They're going to have a future together. And when the stakes get that high, then people can find, you know, reasons to not like somebody, and tensions can get real bad. So I think that's what happened in this case, is that Lyrica was cool. Lyrica Gary was cool with their relationship at first. And then when things got too serious, then, you know, Big Lyrica just wasn't having it. So Safari was acting a fool, jumping on top of the car and going in and out of his Jamaican accent. And I think Pam was right. She said that, you know, Big Lyrica needs to get a hobby, and she does. She needs to find some business and go, you know, attend to it. And I thought it was funny how Pam was ready. She was like, she had the gardening gloves on, which looked clean. I gotta, I guess, take a second look, because I don't think she was actually gardening, like, personally. But anyways, she, you know, squared up and she was ready to go. And I feel like everyone in this situation was petty. I mean, Lyrica taking a car that A1 had just paid off, you know, with his money. And I mean, she is technically within her right to have the car towed because it is hers. But, you know, it's something that's very petty, and we later find out that it's the only car that A1 and Lyrica have. And so, you know, she's hurting, you know, A1 and her daughter, and, you know, inconveniencing them. And A1 taking Mama Lyrica's car was petty, but we already know that, you know, A1 is super petty when it came to the dogs and the waist trainer. So I guess, you know, we didn't expect too much for him. And a Big Lyrica was like, you know, your son doesn't have any money, when she was talking to Pam, but oh, he had that money when you wanted to get, you know, lipo, so whatever. Anyways, finally Lyrica Jr. comes home because she's, you know, her phone is being blown up by her mom and her husband, and she's like, what's going on? And, you know, they say, you know, your mom towed the car because, you know, it's technically hers and it's in her name. And then, you know, Mama Pam was looking terrible with that gold lipstick on. They looked awful. Nose bad. So yeah, but I think that Mama Pam was wrong for saying, I wish you had a better mom. I mean, it was honestly what she was thinking, but the problem is that she knew that that wasn't going to go over well. You can't just talk about somebody else's mama. Then Lyrica, you know, didn't know how to diffuse the situation, because people get inappropriate, and like your human reaction is to get inappropriate back. But sometimes you just got to be the bigger person and learn to diffuse the situation, and nobody on this show really knows how to do that. So Lyrica just, you know, was like, you're jealous of my mom. And Pam was like, I ain't jealous of her. Anybody can do, you know, anybody can get a fake butt and some fake boobs and sing or whatever. And they go back and forth. It's very immature. She's making fun of her mom's lips, and Lyrica's making fun of Mama Pam's nose. And everybody's hitting below the belt, like A1 said. And so what I didn't like was that A1 did not stand up for his wife when his mother was talking to her disrespectfully, when she was like, you're a spoiled B-word. And and they were just exchanging insults. And I think this was an opportunity for A1 to step up for his wife and to kind of check his mom, but he didn't, and that was worrisome. But I really didn't like that. And then when Mama Pam was like, I'll show you who's the king. And I was like, Mama Pam, you're a woman. Why? Like, people already say she sounds like a man and that she looks like a man. And then for her to be like, I'll show you who's the king. You're a queen, Mama Pam. Queen. But anyways, when Lyrica said, you know, you can go ahead and marry your son, there are women who are usually single women with like one son who treat their sons more like a husband instead of their child. And I don't necessarily get that vibe from Mama Pam and A1, at least not all the way. I would say like 75% of the way they're like that. And the only reason I say that is because Mama Pam was very happy for Lyrica and A1 getting married, and she wasn't acting a fool like Loretta Devine's character on Jumping the Broom. You know, women who have that relationship with their sons, that they're like, when they have a relationship with their sons where the sons is like a husband or a boyfriend, the moms typically aren't that happy when their sons, you know, go off and get married. Hence Mama Sonia. So that's where that ended. And so finally, we'll talk about the last thing. Is it the last thing? Monique and Fizz and Jason Lee. So Fizz walks up to Monique, and this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Nobody ever does this, where she's singing on a stage with a piano man and the ambiance in a backyard, and we're like, what? Who does this? And Monique only sounded okay. I think she can sing. I think if she's gonna be a successful artist, her music has to be different because she can't only rely on her voice. I'll just say that, but she is talented. Fizz was saying everything that's going on between you and Brandi is childish and immature, and as a result of you poking and poking and poking, she decided to poke back, and now there's a sex tape that she got from Jason Lee that they're trying to release. And Monique is unapologetic about the way that she, you know, embarrassed Brandi. And she was like, you know, I figured that instead of me fighting her, the better alternative was to embarrass her on stage at my listening party. And I was like, no, the best alternative is to shut up and use your listening party for your actual music and stop, you know, distracting people from your talent by being petty. But anyways, I thought it was so funny when she was like, you know, I don't have anything against Jason Lee, and here's just another instance where me minding my business turns into people, you know, targeting me. And I'm like, ma'am, you are not the victim. You, like, going up on stage and telling someone else's business about a court case is the opposite of minding your business. There's no way that she can say she was minding her business in this instance. And I really wasn't here for her saying, if I found out there was a sex tape of her, I wouldn't even tell anybody because, you know, I would never do that to, you know, someone's child or a mother of a child or whatever she said. And I was like, the last time we heard Monique say something about Brandi, she told Nia and Masika that the only thing she wanted to see from Brandi was for her to be dead. So if you're wishing death on people, I can definitely see you trying to release a sex tape, so don't even go there. So anyways, and she was saying, oh, you know, I'm well aware of what boundaries are, and you really are not. If you call somebody else's son ugly, talking about somebody else's children, when you're the one who's trying to, you know, prove yourself to be a good mother, then you don't know where boundaries are. And I just wasn't here for Monique, and she likes to play the victim, even though she's kind of been the aggressor, and it's almost been unprovoked. I mean, yeah, they called you a bad mother because your mom and your baby daddy said that you were not handling your responsibilities. It's not like they pulled this out of thin air or that it was a rumor. So anyways, Monique, I'm not with her playing the victim. And so finally, in closing, they have Jason Lee and Fizz meeting up, and Fizz to me is too concerned. I think he needs to let Monique fall on her face. I think Monique has already done enough BS on this show for her son to be embarrassed about anyway, and a sex tape wouldn't be, I mean, a sex tape embarrassing Monique would do as much damage to her reputation as Fizz has done about discussing her parenting issues. So anyways, Fizz is just a little too concerned for me, even though he's within his right to have concern for his son. The sex tape is not of him, the sex tape isn't his, and Monique needs to fall on her face, and people need to stop coming to her rescue, and she needs to suffer the consequences of her actions. So Monique comes, you know, on the scene while they're having this meeting, and you know, Jason's whole thing is, I am doing my job, and he was like, you know, you are out here and you need to take accountability for your actions. I don't have the tape, I have access to the tape. And when I liked how when Monique came on the scene, Jason didn't step back, he stood in it, and you know, he knew what he was doing. Now, he said that he was well within his First Amendment right to, you know, have the tape or release it, or, you know, pass it over to somebody, and I don't think that's true for a tape like a sex tape, especially one that, you know, Monique claims that she never consented to have, you know, filmed. So I don't think he was right on that one. I was okay with him not throwing Princess and Brandi under the bus for soliciting the tape, and Fizz was all like, why wouldn't you reach out to me if you knew that there's a sex tape of my baby mama? Because it don't have nothing to do with you, Fizz. Nothing at all. So why are you so concerned? But anyways, he was like, what's the beef you have with Monique? And it's like, you know, I don't have to have no beef with Monique. I'm gonna sell this to the highest bidder. Even though I don't know if there was any money involved or whatever. But, you know, he was absolutely right. Jason was absolutely right for telling Monique she had to, you know, stand in the fact that she was suffering the consequences of her actions and take responsibility. And Monique ended it, and she was like, you know, I do not consent to the dissemination of that sex tape, and, you know, I will find out who it was. If I have to go through you, through my lawyers, we can do that. And so she leaves, and that's it. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Next time we have Tierra Marie getting a storyline, and we also have Princess trying to get a prenup, which I think she should definitely do. We have Lyrica Jr. taking Mama Pam to get their car back from Big Lyrica. I don't know, I don't understand her motivation for that, but we'll see. And we also have Monique, who is going to have a chat with the rapper who took that sex tape involuntarily. And it looks like she hits him. And it looks like she's going to really need a lawyer. So thanks you guys for watching. I am Kiera with Home Slice Adulting. Have a good night.